subscribe to my channel.
Even now, just thinking about it sends chills down my spine. It happened when I was a child, during a funeral in our village. No one talks about it anymore, but the events of those few days are still whispered about, leaving everyone who hears the story deeply unsettled. One winter, an elderly man in our village passed away. Grandpa Jiang, an old doctor, was highly respected for his kindness and skill. The elders in the village said he deserved a grand funeral. On the day of the funeral, the sky was heavy and gray as if snow was coming. Families sent people to help. Some set up the mourning hall, while others prepared offerings. Everything seemed orderly. Grandpa Jiang's son and daughter-in-law were busy arranging for relatives to carry the coffin, but something was odd about a distant relative named Liu Ming, who was in charge of the burial. He seemed nervous, his hands shaky, and his speech hesitant. When someone asked if he was okay, he muttered, "I didn't sleep well last night." The funeral procession started, heading toward the cemetery outside the village. Midway, the weather suddenly changed. A cold wind blew, and snowflakes began to fall. As the procession hurried, the coffin bearers suddenly stopped. "Something's wrong," one of them said. "The weight feels different." Alarmed, Grandpa Zhang's son ordered them to stop and open the coffin. As the lid was lifted, everyone froze in shock. Inside, alongside Grandpa Zhang's body, was another, a woman's corpse. The woman wore plain clothes, her face pale and lifeless. She had clearly been dead for days. Someone recognized her. "It's Wang Hua," they exclaimed. Wang Hua was a widow who had gone missing recently. She was quiet and kept to herself, but everyone knew she was close to Liu Ming. Grandpa Zhang's son turned pale and demanded, "What's going on here, Liu Ming? Explain yourself." Liu Ming stammered, "It wasn't me. I didn't do it." His trembling voice only deepened everyone's suspicion. That night, the villagers decided to remove the woman's body and place it in another coffin. They planned to deal with it the next day. Her coffin was left in a corner of the mourning hall. But strange things began happening. The candles in the hall went out several times for no apparent reason. The night watch claimed they heard faint crying, and some said they saw shadows moving near the coffin. To make it even creepier, someone noticed the woman's coffin lid was slightly ajar. Panicked, they shut it again and scattered paper money around, but the disturbances didn't stop. The next day, the village elders gathered to discuss what to do. Some suggested burying her in a mass grave since she had no family, while others said they should perform a ritual. Eventually, one elder insisted they reopen the coffin to check for any clues. When the lid was lifted, everyone gasped in horror. The woman's body, which had been lying flat, was now sitting upright. Her hands were crossed over her chest and her eyes were half open, staring straight at Liu Ming. Liu Ming broke down completely. He fell to his knees, sobbing. "Wang Hua, I'm sorry, it was me." It turned out that a few days earlier, he had argued with Wang Hua and accidentally pushed her during the fight. She fell and died. Panicking, he hid her body in Grandpa Jiang's coffin, thinking no one would ever discover the truth once it was buried. The villagers believed Liu Ming faced divine punishment. After that day, he became a wreck, constantly muttering to himself. He claimed he saw Wang Hua's ghost standing outside the mourning hall and Grandpa Jiang glaring at him with accusing eyes. One snowy day, Liu Ming ran out of the village and never returned. Some said Wang Hua's ghost had taken him, while others believed he froze to death in the mountains. After that funeral, no one in the village mentioned Liu Ming again. The coffin that had held two bodies became a taboo. Villagers said that every winter when snow fell, strange footprints would appear around Grandpa Jiang and Wang Hua's graves, as if someone were circling them. Some whispered it might be Liu Ming. As the villagers often said, those who do wrong will always face the consequences. Justice will come sooner or later.